before we do anything, I want you all to take out a piece of paper and a pen. And then once you've all done that, I want you guys to think about your favorite animal. So just think about your favorite animal. Dogs and cats don't count, and it has to be a real animal. So no unicorns, dragons, ligers, it has to be a real animal. Okay? Okay, so does everyone have an animal in mind? You all have an animal? Okay, now I want you to just simply draw this animal. So make it simple, don't spend too much time on it, stick figures are okay. Just a simple drawing of this animal. And remember, it doesn't have to be something crazy, just simple is okay. Okay, everyone have their animal drawn? Now I want you to just think about where this animal lives. Does it live in the water? Does it live on land? Does it live in a desert? Does it live up in the trees? Just think about where it lives. Okay? Now I want you to draw something around your animal to show this. So if it lives in the water, maybe draw waves around it, or seaweed. If it lives in the trees, kind of draw a tree next to it. If it lives in the desert, draw a sun. Just draw something that puts this animal in its environment. Awesome. Okay. So what you guys just drew was an animal in its environment. So today, that's our objective, is we're going to be learning about environments. So by the end of today, you will be able to name 2 different environments and then be able to tell me 4 different plants and animals that live in that environment. And so we'll learn about what exactly an environment is. So throughout this lesson, I want you guys to think about just different types of environments that you already know of. And then I want you to think about the animals that live in them and why maybe one animal might be able to live in one environment but not another. Okay? So what exactly is an environment? Have you heard of an ecosystem? Okay, so an ecosystem is basically an environment. And so an ecosystem consists of living and non-living things, which we just learned about, that are in a special natural setting. And then each one includes plants, animals, insects that are living, and then it has rock, soil, water, and sunlight are also major components that are non-living. So an environment consists of living and non-living things. I'll narrow this down and we'll understand it more as we go. So, living things. Let's talk about just the living things that might be an environment so that we can understand the definition more. So the living things that might be an environment are plants, animals, microorganisms, but we don't really need to learn about that, but just so you know, and then insects. So, can someone tell me one living thing that might be in an ecosystem or an environment? Yes?
Dolphin.
Exactly. So now let's learn about some of the non-living things. Some of the non-living things in an environment would be like soil. So like a desert, their soil is not very good. But in a forest or grassland, you might have really good soil. Water, some ecosystems are just solely water, like the ocean. Rocks and sunlight, those are the non-living things. So an ecosystem, this is an example of an ecosystem. This is an ocean. This is a type of an ecosystem. In this one, you can see that there's water and sunlight that are the non-living things, and you can see fish and coral, which are the living things. So an ecosystem is just simply the non-living and the living things that coexist in a specific area. Here are the different types of ecosystems. But before we go on, can I have someone kind of recap what an ecosystem is or an environment? Yes.
An ecosystem is an environment where non-living
You can also write that down on your paper of notes that I gave you guys. But these are just some of the different ecosystems that there are. There's marine, which is ocean. Freshwater, which is lakes, streams, ponds, rivers, creeks. There's different freshwater ecosystems. Then there's forest, which there's 3 different kinds, but right now we'll talk about them as a whole. There's a tundra, and there's a desert and a grassland. But that would be way too much to cover today. So today we're just going to focus on the ocean, the forest, and the desert. Okay? First, we're going to talk about the ocean. So marine, you might hear of marine or ocean. That's the ecosystem. So because most of the world, of the earth, is the ocean, this is the largest ecosystem. But there's several different layers. You'll have the deep sea, you might have the coral reefs, you might have the surface. There's different parts of this ecosystem, but we're going to focus on it as a whole. So the ocean also consists of only salt water. So freshwater is a whole different ecosystem. So even though this ecosystem is mainly water, it has to be salt water. So we're going to watch a video, but before I start it, I want you guys to really focus on the animals and plants that are in the video. It's going to be a song, so it might say some and you might see some. I just really want you guys to focus on the plants and animals that are in this video.
The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. You dream about going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you, right here on the ocean floor. Such wonderful things around you. What more is you looking for? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore they work all day. Out in the sun they slave away, while we devoted full time to floating under the sea.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. But I want you guys to tell me some things that you saw living or non-living in the video, or some things that were mentioned. Can anyone tell me one living thing? Yes?
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish. And any other living things people saw?
Oysters.
Oysters, great. I think there was a dolphin. There was like an octopus. There was a bunch of animals. Can someone tell me a non-living thing they saw? Water. The water is not living, as well as the sun. Did anyone see the sun? The sun is a non-living thing, but it exists in ecosystems. Would sand be a non-living thing too? Sand would definitely be a non-living thing. So those are 3 non-living things that we just saw. The next ecosystem is a forest. But before we go on, I want someone to tell me one more thing we might find in an ocean, or one fact about an ocean ecosystem. Not something we'd find, but something that makes it an ocean system. Ecosystem.
Salt water.
Salt water, great. Okay. Now, a forest. There are 3 different types of forest. They're all based on climate, but we're not going to focus on each one. We're just going to look at forest as a whole. So the main description of a forest is that it has a lot of trees. So when you hear forest, think just mostly trees. Okay? We're going to watch a video, and while we're watching, I want you to focus on the same thing you watched last time. I want you guys to look at the different living and non-living things that are coexisting together, and after this, I'm going to ask you guys what things you saw.
Been to a forest? Forests are usually full of plants and grass, all kinds of trees, sometimes mushrooms, and sometimes you'll find a stream or river. Forests are also the home of lots and lots of animals. What kind of animals can you find in a forest? Chipmunks are one of the smallest animals in the forest. They can be even smaller than flowers. You may see these furry animals on the ground looking for food or eating. You might also see a chipmunk in a tree if they are trying to hide from something. A raccoon is another furry animal that lives in the forest. They look like they are wearing a black mask on their eyes and have black rings on their big bushy tail. Raccoon paws are similar to your hands and help them to hold things and climb trees. There are many kinds of birds in the forest. They are all different sizes and shapes. Have you heard birds singing? If you listen, you can hear them whistling to each other. Owls are a special kind of bird that live in the forest. They usually sleep during the day and wake up at night. They have big round eyes that help them see in the dark. You may hear their hooting noises at night. Fish are animals that live in water. If a forest is a stream or river, you may see fish swimming there. Fish are special because they can breathe underwater. Around a stream, you may see.
Okay, so you can see in there that they mentioned a river or a stream in a forest. Ecosystems can coexist, and you can find multiple ecosystems next to each other. But right now, let's talk about forests. What kind of animals did you see coexisting, living or non-living actually? What kind of living or non-living things did you find in the forest?
I saw an owl.
An owl, great. Another living thing?
I saw a chipmunk that's as small as a flower.
Exactly, there's a lot of chipmunks in a forest. What about any plants? What kind of living plants are in a forest? Yes.
I saw a lot of trees.
A lot of trees, and that's the main thing of a forest, is that they're taken over by trees. What about some non-living things that are in a forest?
Fresh water.
Fresh water. Any other non-living things? What about the dirt or the ground? Is there soil? What about the sun? Does the sun get in forests? Would you find rocks in a forest? What other? Oh, I'm sorry. There's rocks in a forest. Okay. So, without looking, I want you guys to tell me one thing that you'll find that describes a forest. What's the main part that describes a forest environment?
A lot of trees.
A lot of trees. Great. Okay. So the last one we're going to focus on is the desert. So the desert has low rainfall. That's the main thing about a desert. They have very harsh climates, but they can be hot or cold. Most people think that deserts are just hot, but they can also be very cold. It just matters about the rainfall. And it's really hard for things to live in the desert. Just because a place might be hot does not mean it's a desert, and just because it's cold does not mean it's a desert. We're going to watch this video. I would read you the book, but I don't have it, so we're going to watch someone else read it. But while we're watching it, I want you guys to really focus on the different plants and animals that are shown and talked about in the book, just like we've been doing.
What's the time on the hickory?
Called In the Deep Red Desert. There's some red sand and a dingo. And the story goes like this. In the deep red desert, lol, lop, kangaroos hop, boing, boing, boing. Shriek, shrill, finches trill. Finches on a branch. See their pretty red beaks? Stir, stick, tongues lick. Two echidnas looking for ants to eat. Snuffle, snuffle, lick, lick. Lots of animals in the desert. Scuttle, scurry, ants hurry. Ants have little yellow bodies. Grip, grasp, jaws clasp. Look at the lizard who has caught a beetle. Munch, munch, crunch, crunch. And this lizard has has a blue tongue. Nuzzle, nudge, muzzles, budge. Bilbies with big ears and long muzzles. Have you ever been to the desert?
Okay, so just from that short little part, what are some, we'll start off with plants. What kind of plants do we see in the desert? Do we see any plants? Cactus. I saw some sticks, I don't know where they belong to, but cactus is the only one I can think of. What about animals? We'll go to animals now.
Dingo.
Dingo. What other animals?
Birds.
Birds. Did anyone see any insects?
Yes.
Ants. What about any reptiles?
Lizards.
Lizards. A lot of reptiles live in these harsh environments. So a lot of reptiles you'll find in the desert. What kind of non-living things did we see?
Rocks.
Rocks, sand. A lot of times the soil is not good in desert, so you'll find just a lot of dirt. There's not many trees. So what is one kind of descriptor of a desert? Can someone tell me what a desert is?
Very little rainfall.
Very little rainfall. Great. So now that we know what environments are, and you've covered a few, do you live next to any of these kinds of environments? You live next to the ocean. What kind of living and non-living things live in the ocean?
Fish.
Fish.
Coral.
Coral. Great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of environment would, where would it
I don't know how to. I looked it up and I couldn't figure it out. Do you know?
Probably, well, does forests have to be in a certain climate?
No. Well, there's 3 different climates for forest.
So would it, what about a tropical forest? Does it have to be a rainforest?
There's tropical. Well, we didn't go that far into it because it's just 2nd grade. But there's tropical, and then there's like a moderate one, and then there's a cold weather forest. So
it's tropical.
Might be tropical forest, like vegetation and stuff like that. Not sure if, like, I'm just thinking that if Laie was just left the way it was originally, what would be here? Probably a lot of, could be forests or even marshes.
Some taro patches.
A lot of taro and sugarcane used to be.
I was gonna ask, if there's houses in an environment, like, does that change it? Like, if it's like, it was a forest, but now there's just houses, what is it now? Because it wouldn't be a
I don't think
forest.
so. You'd probably still classify it as the same environment.
It'd just be sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad environment.
So after we've gone over this, why
Unless
might,
it's for homeless people, then we wouldn't be sad.
That's true.
why might some animals be able to live in certain environments and others can't? Like, why can't a dolphin live in the desert? Exactly. So, going back to what an ecosystem is. An ecosystem is the environment in which animals coexist, living and non-living. So, the ocean has animals and non-living things, or plants and animals and non-living things that can coexist in that environment. That's why there's different kinds. Okay, and that's it. But did anyone draw an animal and environment that we learned about today? Yeah? What did you draw?
A whale.
A whale in the ocean. Did anyone else draw an animal and environment you learned about today?
I drew a grizzly bear.
Where would you find that?
I would assume a
A
forest.
forest? Great. What did you draw? Because we'll learn about your environments tomorrow.
I drew an elephant.
Elephant? What kind of environment do you think that lives in?
Forest.
Forest? Did we learn about that today? Yeah. What did you draw?
I drew a panda bear.
Where do you think those live?
I think they live in a forest, but a different kind.
A different kind of forest? Okay. What did you draw?
I drew a fish.
What kind of environment does that live in? Ocean? Could it be a freshwater fish too? What kind of fish did you draw? Well, we'll be learning about the rest of the environments that animals can live in tomorrow.
They left it. Oh,